All right, let's talk about which era of surfboard collecting was the best. I would say, yeah, if you could get the Duke board from 1930s, or I've seen the Duke's boards before. They're pretty cool. But who's really gonna authenticate the Duke's surfboards unless you're the Duke, right? Who's gonna authenticate that you were a surfboard shaper in the 1930s or 40s or 50s? It gets harder and harder because people don't remember names from that far back, you know? It just becomes a research project, basically. Um, People remember Hobie from the 50s, and then from then on, there's been shapers that we remember. But before the 50s, it gets into a gray area of like well-known, you know, shapers. It's more of like who wrote it. Like, did the Duke ride this surfboard? Well, this was the Duke's board, and we know that the Duke wrote it because people would look after the Duke's board, right? But if you just built a surfboard out of a log in your garage today and you said it's an old board, who's gonna know? Like, if you restored it or put gloss right over it, or it's hard to authenticate a piece of wood, you know. So let's just cut loose on the past, and we'll just talk about the 70s. The 60s was mostly longboards. Those are harder to collect because they're huge, you know. Plus, they're usually in bad shape. If they're in good shape, they're expensive now. Okay. 70s, this is your time, okay? 70s, there's lots of competition. Everybody's trying to be the best. All these innovations are coming out, all these psychedelic, funky colors and airbrush designs. And the boards kind of have like cool looking curves like the cars did too. They got a mojo to them. Definitely a vibe. So even the fins are worth money. They had these rainbow fins and stuff. 70s was a really cool time, and a lot more of those boards are available. Those single fin cool boards. By the 80s, you're going to run into a few different issues. We all kind of rode the same board, okay? It was the Al Merrick, and that was it. After, I don't know. I'm not going to say that, but because there was so many good things that happened in the 80s, but you're going to have to ask somebody, you know? Like, after Al Merrick came around, every single board, Channel Islands, Al Merrick. And that was it. Nobody wanted to ride anything else, let's be honest. I've never rode one, but I've seen it stamped on every board when I go out into the water. It's pretty weird. I don't know why. But the 80s was a cool time, right? There was all kinds of cool Hawaiian boards that were made that are collectible. Mostly collectible to Hawaiians, if you wanted to bring some over there for them. They would appreciate that. Bring them back to the island. Colors started getting really neon and stuff, but in the 80s, what I was told was the 60s, all right, the 50s, we basically designed the blueprint. The 60s, we were refining it, and we pretty much made a refined product. 70s, competition, and we were just trying to tweak everything into being the best of the best, you know, a board for every situation. A lot of, you know, great stuff came out of the 70s, including the shortboard, basically. 80s, Al Merrick,